Hey there, what's happening YouTube? Thanks for stopping back by the channel today here with the Rust Belt Mechanic. We've got a couple of guests on here today. Our Mopar YouTube power panel. We've got McBake and the Captain Ron.
What's up, guys?
How's it going? So today we're going to be talking to you guys about what it's going to mean to be a mechanic in 2020, give you guys some insight on what the actual industry is going to, and maybe a little bit of a history lesson from a couple of different individuals here to give you guys some insight on what it's going to be like. So this video is going to be a little bit on the more generic side because we are all automotive technicians, and this could, I guess, be in the range of technicians of diesel mechanics, heavy duty machinery, airplane techs, whatever it might be. But regardless, we're going to touch on a couple of the subjects that are pretty relative to that. First off is going to be technology. Technology is always going to be the number one thing that technicians are going to be falling behind on or need more and more training on. We've got a couple of guys here that have been, I guess, starting to go through some of the training, and we're going to get some of their insights on what they've done to be trained earlier on in their career. So we've got Captain Ron, which has been here on the channel for quite a few, episodes here. Been a technician, gone through training, and now you've been flat rate for what, like 6-8 months?
About that, yep.
So in training and everything in the way of technology, how much do you think, percentage-wise, you have to use electrical skills and technology to do your everyday job?
100%.
Really? That much?
Yeah. I mean, with the vehicles being the way they are now, being computer-driven and everything else, plus, I mean, back in the day, people would go to owner's manuals, or they would go to repair manuals to look up everything. But with everything that's going on with vehicles nowadays, having the ability to use the technology that is available to you to look up information, look up diagnostics, look up torque specs, look at whatever it is that you might need. Not to mention to be able to even start working on a vehicle, because half the time you have to get into the computer system of the vehicle itself to look and see what's actually going wrong with the vehicle as well. So having all that laid out in front of you, there's not a day that goes by in this shop that I'm not touching something that is technology based, whether it be an iPad, a laptop, or whatever. I agree, definitely. Even like the newer vehicles that you have nowadays, we don't even have the paper manuals hardly anymore. They give you get your vehicle and you get your manual, your owner's manual on CD. Here you go. Now you got to look through that or
one.
Flash drive.
Or the flash drive for the vehicles. Yeah. So you're not even getting any of the warranty information or technical diagnostics or anything like that for your vehicle. So technology, number one, by far, is going to be the biggest thing that you have to keep up on to even be in the realm of becoming a technician or staying in the field coming up in the next 10 years or so. Next, I would say, is going to be career goals. You have to be career oriented, otherwise you're not going to succeed in this career or pretty much any other career for that matter. If you just look at it as a day-to-day job, if you're just coming in here to earn a paycheck, it is not going to be something that you're ever going to be able to succeed in. So when you're starting here into the automotive industry, the career-based ideal is what you really need to have. So we've got a couple of different, I guess, perspectives from all of us on how we got started into the automotive field to give you guys kind of an idea of where we came from. You guys know from, if you have been tuned into the channel, I got into the automotive field when I was about 22 years old. I wasn't fresh out of high school, and I had actually been taking some criminal justice courses in college before, and then eventually I got into the automotive field. I was still pretty early on. I did have my own house. I just got married. I didn't have any kids. I didn't have much of any loans or school debt. I had cars that were already paid off. So it was fairly easy for me to get into the industry. Because if you do your due diligence and looking into the industry, the biggest thing to get started is going to be obviously paying for tools. So it was a lot easier for me at that point because I didn't have a lot of debt going into things. Now, McBake here he's been a tech here for going on, what, 6 months now?
Yeah, let's say 6 months.
So how hard was it for you to get into the industry where you're at in your life?
I don't think it was that hard.
No?
I mean, I know obviously it is rough. I mean, I'm 31 now, just started 6 months ago, have a house, cars, we have our daughter, all that kind of stuff. The biggest thing is, yeah, you have to pay for tools. Starting out, I'm just an hourly tech, so I mean, there was definitely a pay cut there. But I've always just been good with budgeting. I mean, before this, I was a personal banker or financial advisor. So maybe I had a leg up over a lot of other people. We had a bit of a savings that we could fall back on. My wife, she wasn't working for the past 3 or 4 years, and she started working again, and that definitely helped make the decision a lot easier. I can't take a pay cut for quality of life. And then, just buy my tools and stuff. It's just, it was helpful having a savings account and everything like that.
Again, being money friendly and doing your due diligence and understanding what you're getting into before you dive into it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a good probably 2 months, maybe even 3 months thinking about it. I knew the spot was open back here. I was up front in sales. So, yeah, I mean, I thought long and hard about it. And then when my wife, she just got out of school and was starting her career over again, that's when things kind of, it's like, okay, now this is seriously something I can do. I don't have to worry about finances as much. And it's something I've always wanted to do. I just didn't go to school for it, and I thought the only way to get into it was through school. And, after school and stuff, it's just people driving to you, make money, get money, make money. And so, I mean, that was the route that I was going. I was doing what I could do to make more money. And coming up at about 30 or so, you just realize money isn't everything. It was a huge quality of life change for me. I don't have a knot in my stomach coming to work every day. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy the people I'm with doing it.
That's got to be the biggest, most major thing that you have to look into. You have to have that right balance between, yes, I'm looking to make money, I'm looking to be here, but I'm also looking to have a career that I'm not going to want to kill myself later on for having gotten into this. And my wife's not going to want to kill me later on. I mean, that happens regardless, depending on how many tools you buy, but that happens. So at that point, he got into it, and then we can look from a different perspective to see Captain Ron, who came from another full-time career in the cable industry, as well as a little bit older. I know I get a ton of questions from a lot of guys who are a little bit later on in life, late 30s, 40s, 50s, saying, hey, it's too late for me to get into the industry. And Captain Ron here is a good example to show, that may not be the case.
No, I mean, out of the three of us, I'm actually the older one. I'm 37, and I've been here at the shop for 3 years now. I mean, I can tell you that it's never too late to get into a career if you really want to get into a career. Like he said, I was a cable technician for 10 years, doing AT&T, Comcast, not Comcast, AT&T, Bright House, Spectrum, whatever you want to call it. Did that for 10 years, and prior to that, I was a civil engineer. I actually sat behind a computer and drew plot plans for houses for several years. That was my first degree. Now that I've got older, and granted, we moved from one location to another, and I could not get my job to transfer, so I had to take a massive pay cut to get a contractor's position. And doing that, it was just like I was working myself to death for little to no money. An opportunity came up here at the dealership, and Kyle was like, hey, would you be interested in doing this? I said, sure. I said, we'll give it a go. So I went ahead and applied and got hired. I was a lube tech for a while, and then started into school. And 3 years later, here I sit.
And there you go. That just goes to show you that even when you're later on into a career, you're fully fledged into something else, and you got your heart into it, but you really want to try something else. Being a technician is not that hard to get into. Yes, granted, there are going to be some hurdles and some things that you have to overcome to be able to get into this kind of career, but it's not impossible. Like Baker said, if you just budget correctly, That's the biggest hurdle that you have to get over, because here in the US at least, you have to buy all your tools. When you have to buy all your tools, that's a huge hit into the pay cut, especially if you're already taking a pay cut going from one job to another, and then on top of that having to buy tools. And that's why guys really aren't wanting to get into the field, because why would I want to jump into a field that I have to take a pay cut and then I have to pay for all of my tools on top of that?
Because it's a better field. It's what I was passionate about, quality of life.
And exactly, you don't want to turn those guys away who think that, maybe I can't change careers because it's just too much of something to do. But in all reality, if it's really what you want to do, you really need to be able to flourish and do what you want to do in life. I think one of the biggest things to help you guys get into an automotive career is definitely going to have to be some kind of a support system. Because I don't think that not very many people are going to be strong enough to be able to get into a career like this, especially if you're not at that younger age where you don't have anything tying you down at all. If you don't have a support system, family, friends, people in the dealership who are actually backing you and pushing you to do better in your career, it's a lot harder to get started. You guys don't have really, great goals set because you don't know what you're doing as much. You might seem overwhelmed a whole lot of the time, especially at the point where you jump over into flat rate. That's a little bit on the harder side, isn't it, Captain?
Yep, especially this week.
This is one of the hardest weeks.
This right here has been the hardest week of the 3 years that I've been in the industry.
It is one of those slow weeks. On top of that, you have shortened weeks because of holidays. It's just a pain in the butt. A lot of people aren't wanting to get their cars fixed. You guys are doing lots of diags, but not a lot of fixes. So it gets hard, and you are going to have up times and down times in this industry. There's no way to get around that one, and you have to be able to plan for it. And again, going back to what Baker said, financial responsibility in this one. You have to be able to budget and plan these things out. Talk to the other guys who are at the shop that you work at on, hey, when's the slow time that we get through to this here? When's it start picking back up? What do I need to plan for? And you really, really need to plan accordingly. If not, then you're going to be hurting really bad for a couple of weeks throughout the year. It's not going to be a fun time. I definitely tell you that one. I've been through it quite a few times. I think to the point here in the dealership that we work at, you get about a week before Christmas time, and then it stretches into about the first to second week of January is the slow season here, where you're kind of struggling to get your 30 to 40 hours. It really sucks for that one, but if you have money put back ahead of time, you kind of know that it's coming. Also, you don't buy a whole bunch of tools and get into a bunch of tool debt right before this time, where you have to make those tool payments, and it's just one of those things you need to do.
Got to practice those
Now,
6 Ps.
Of course, you have to live within your means, but that's just one of the things that you guys really need to understand and look into before you make that leap into the automotive career.
You guys know about the 6 Ps, right? Prior planning prevents poor performance.
Nope.
You've never heard that?
Nope.
Prior planning prevents poor performance. The 6 Ps.
There you go.
Rules to live by.
Knowledge from McBake. So what can we see that was different in the year, say from a couple of years ago, before you got started into the industry, and to now going into 2020? Me personally, I got into this, roughly 10, 11 years ago, right when we were leaving the OBD sector. You were in the OBD1, OBD2 areas, moving into CAN bus systems. Now we're going into the next generation controllers, new CAN bus systems. It's been changing huge amounts year to year. On top of that, hybrid technology is growing massively. What can you see as a difference just between what you were working on at home to what you're working on in the shop now?
What I was working at home were 60s and 70s. Everything's different. You gotta have little tiny fingers to get in all the nooks and crannies.
You gotta have that now anyways.
I mean, other than, I guess, brakes and suspension, that's all the same, but any real mechanical work, it was always restoring hot rods and stuff. So nothing.
So everything is new.
Everything's new. It's a crazy new world out here. I don't
Captain,
know.
What has changed since when you went to and started in the CAT program to now? What can you see coming new in 2020 as being a technician?
I mean, technology itself is always going to grow. So there's always going to be different, I guess, procedures and different styles of the vehicles coming out that's always going to require new training, new understanding of different vehicles. I mean, just like he said, there's going to be a ton of electric and hybrid stuff coming out. Eventually, they're going to get into autonomous stuff. So, I mean, I foresee just everybody having to basically double down on their training and their expertise of the hybrid systems, because that's where it's going to be going. Matter of fact, I saw something the other day where the Pacifica is going to be, the new Pacifica is going to be almost all electric.
I think the next year. 5 years is going to be very strange for technicians. I think we're going to be less grease monkeys and more IT techs.
I think it's going to be the whole new atmosphere, to where, like it was in the 80s and early 90s, switching over from carburation to the new fuel injection and everything. It's going to be a huge change in the industry. Pretty much every single vehicle, from the point of hybrid technology, you're going to have gas engines working with electric motors both together. I don't think it's going to be one big jump into full electric. I think the hybrid technology is going to evolve a little bit, but then it's going to, I think, take one big leap in about, I'd say, 5 to 6 years or so.
I agree with that.
I'd say in 5 years, it's going to be very electric. I mean, I know Chrysler has like 3 different plants going right now to build fully electric Jeeps, and yeah, it's going to get crazy. I mean, Ford has their first legitimate electric car out. Chevy's been doing it for a while now with like the Bolt. Yeah, it's I'd say the next 5 years is going to be very interesting.
Now, I see things changing a lot in the industry. Obviously, it's going to evolve, and the cars are going to evolve, and we're going to have to keep up with them. But as far as procedural things, what is going to be changing into the next couple of years? Personally, when I talk to technicians across the board, the biggest thing that people absolutely hate in this industry is the pay system. The pay system being on flat rate is one of the, I guess, biggest teeter-totter of how people are paid in pretty much any industry I've ever seen. Obviously, it's really hard to pay any way different, because that's how they keep track of how the vehicles and how the customers pay for those vehicles, and that's how they pay their technicians. It's paid per job, not per hour. However, I think that we can do something to change this. It's not going to be the answer of moving everything over to hourly. I don't think the industry is ready to make that big of a leap. However, there have been some systems that I've been looking into on some hybrid systems on being able to pay hourly plus
even
based
the pay's
on
going hybrid.
Oh yeah,
Jeez Louise.
Hybrid everything. But that'll be another video that I really want to get into on different hybrid pay systems that I've been talking to a whole bunch of people about, and maybe even here at this dealership we might be looking into changing that over the next couple of months going into 2020. So make sure you guys keep a look into how the pay systems are rolling. If you don't understand that, you really need to look into some of the videos here on YouTube. A lot of guys have put out some great content on how mechanics are paid and how to keep up to date on that. Well guys, I appreciate you stopping in today to help out with this video. If you guys haven't already checked them out, make sure you go over to the Master Apprentice, aka Captain Ron, over on his channel, or Mr. McBake.
Yes, sir.
Over on YouTube. I will have the links to their channels down in the description below. Make sure you go and check them out. We've got a lot more stuff coming up on the channel, and I wanted to give you guys a big thank you. We just cleared 30,000 subscribers here on the channel. High fives. High fives. Oh, I guess low five, but we've been doing some amazing things, and we can't thank you guys as subscribers enough for stopping in and being able to get us to enjoy what we're doing, putting out this content all for you. I appreciate you guys tuning in, and as always,
Happy New Year.
Stay awesome. And
Peace.
Happy New Year.
And love, brothers.
We'll see you next year.
In 2020.
Weirdos.
How many times can I make them stop and restart? Okay.
None.
Go on. No. Go ahead. Start a new clip. Well, actually, maybe you should restart
we'll talk
one
about
more time.
Lift. So moving
Can we
on
hurry this up?
into...
I got places to go. Come on.
This little munchkin here.
Continue.
So
I got
moving
places
on
to go.
into 2020.
Ron, we got to get out of here, man.
These guys are douchebags.
Always here helping Kyle out. Like,
We're
subscribe.
We're here for you, man.
We're here for you.
You are. Keep in mind, and one of these... Now I can't even talk.
Special effects.